I'm Sofia Sheehan. I'm here with Barring
Hi,
Tape.
Sofia.
I'm here with Nebojsa Slijepcevic, the director of The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent. Congrats on the movie.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, the movie tells a story of Tomo Buzov, who died defending the rights of Bosnians against a paramilitary group. You mentioned in interviews that you wouldn't do the movie unless you had the permission from Tomo's son. How did you manage to take on the responsibility of telling his story?
Yeah, well, I have a background in documentary films, I did a lot of documentaries, and I approached this as this film, although it is fiction, as if it was a documentary. And with the same responsibility, because I was fully aware that not only Tomo Buzov's son will watch the film, but also that on this train there were a couple of hundreds passengers, and many of them will see the film, and also many of people who lost their relatives in this massacre will see the film. So it was very important for me to make this film in a way not to re-traumatize them by our treatment of the topic. So I tried to research as much as I could. I read thousands of pages of newspaper articles of testimonies for witnesses from the train, because there were several trials of the murderers from the train during past decades. So I got the transcripts from the trials and read the testimonies. And then when I was writing a script, I decided to make all the characters except Toma Buzo fictional characters. So all other characters are fictionalized, but they're based on the experiences of the people from the train. And many of the lines that are spoken in the film are taken from the testimonies. So not all of that, of course, but most of the lines are really was spoken on that day.
And another interesting thing you bring up not wanting to re-traumatize, the movie is about a violent massacre, but we as the audience, we don't actually see anything, anybody get killed. There's no outright violence. We only see what the people on the train see. Why was this important to, not take us to where the massacre happened?
Well, what I saw in this event, of course, this is a real event, but I didn't want to make a historical lesson. I was looking for something that was universal and that I can relate to. And 30 years later, and that I think that many of people who will watch the film can relate to, although it is far away from them both geographically and in time, But the universal thing is this experience of witnessing the violence and when you're not directly threatened, and I wanted to put the audience in these shoes of a man who is just minding his own business, traveling, on a peaceful one day on a train, and then suddenly everything changes in a matter of minutes, and he has to decide what to do. And whatever he decides, it will change his life forever. Every decision in such situations have some consequences. Even if you decide to remain silent and to remain passive.
Yeah, it's an interesting battle between, when speaking is not enough or when it's too much. And I was wondering, what are some other themes and subject matters that drive you as a filmmaker?
Well, again, as I said, I have a documentary background. So for me, whatever I do, I want it to be not only escapism, but something that is really important for me, for my neighbors, for my friends, for my society, something that at this moment I find important to deal with. Very often these are not funny or nice topics or entertaining topics, but something that I spend talking to with my friends, over dinners or when I meet them, something that bothers us, that's whatever it is, So in our region of Balkans, of ex-Yugoslavia, we had a bloody war 30 years ago that was fueled by many things, but nationalism was one of the things that fueled this war. And still, 30 years later, we still feel it today, what happened 30 years ago. So this is one of the important topics, the trauma that happened 30 years ago still in some way influence our being today. And to solve it somehow, we must talk about that. That's one of the things. But also, uh, right now I'm finishing a documentary that is dealing with something that happened very recent in Zagreb, with a quarrel over a children park where two groups of citizens, one group wanted to build a church in the park, and the other group wanted to keep it as a children's park. They confronted, and so the neighbors, they both live in the same neighborhood, but it almost ended with a bloody conflict. So this is one of the type of the topics that I'm interested in, whatever determines our daily life.
As a documentarian, would you say that this film is more influenced by documentaries you've seen, or are there other films that inspired your making of The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent?
Well, this film is more influenced by several fiction films that I have seen, and I think from a directing point of view, it's quite classical. I use quite classical film language in this film, with so I can name many influences in a directing style, from very classics like Hitchcock to I don't know, some more recent like Tarantino, if you want to, but only in a directing style, only in directing style.
Right. And then to close it out, I know that this movie has received a lot of praise abroad. It won the Palme for short film, and it's gotten a lot of accolades across Europe, across the US. What has the reception been like to this movie at home?
It was fantastic, and for me, that's the most important thing, maybe, because after all, it's very nice to get Palme d'Or. It's fantastic, really, But after all, I live in Croatia and I make films primarily for Croats, and for people who live in Croatia, because that's like that's most important for me. And this film. There is still a huge interest for this film, which makes me very happy, because that's why we make films, to for the audience to see them, and nothing makes me happier than when we get a lot of requests for screeners from people living in Croatia, or when we have full cinemas for one 15-minute year old long film, very short film, but still people uh, go to cinema to see it. So it is like a full success for me.
Well, again, I want to say congratulations. This was a really affecting movie, and I think it's something that people won't forget when they see it.
Sofia, thank you very much.